Welcome to today's Explainer. Today we aren't just memorizing dry facts from a textbook. Instead, we're actually looking into history's mirror. We're diving into American art, music, and literature. Think of this explainer as, well, a bit of a time machine. It's a way to capture the raw emotions, the really deep struggles, and the soaring dreams of the people who actually lived through these eras. We're going to see what they saw, hear exactly what they heard, and truly feel what they felt.
Okay, let's take a quick look at our roadmap for today. We're taking a chronological journey, starting with the idea of art as a mirror, moving through the patriotic pride of the early Republic, the reform literature of the mid-1800s, and the diverse sounds of the early 1900s. We'll wrap it all up with some key takeaways and a look at why our educational and moral choices still matter today.
Let's jump right into Section 1, our big idea, art as history's mirror. We're anchoring our entire lesson today on this really beautiful scripture from Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 11. He has made everything beautiful in its time. It's such a powerful thought, isn't it? It basically tells us that every single era, no matter how messy or complicated it might seem on the surface, produces beautiful, meaningful art that speaks directly to that specific moment. The art isn't just random, it has a profound intentional purpose for the people creating it.
And this is exactly why it is so absolutely crucial to study literature right alongside our history. Think about it. History books alone, they give us the dates, the facts, the battles, and hey, that is incredibly important. But on the flip side, we have art, music, and literature. This is where we find the real stuff, the emotions, the driving ideas, and the gritty reality of everyday life. Art captures the raw human experiences that textbooks alone just can't fully describe.
All right, moving into Section 2, the early Republic and its deep sense of patriotic pride.
Let's travel back to our first stop. Today, we're exploring three specific eras. We'll start with the early Republic, which was defined by intense patriotism. Then, we'll fast forward a bit to the mid-1800s, where literature actually became a massive tool for reform. And finally, we'll hit the early 1900s, which brought this incredible explosion of diversity in music. It's a perfect example of how culture constantly changes right alongside major historical events.
So, picture this. Imagine being a citizen in a brand new country that literally just won its independence. Can you imagine the energy? The crucial point here is that early American creative works were super focused on building up a completely new national identity. The art reflected that massive excitement. People used patriotic songs and grand, majestic portraits everywhere just to celebrate national pride. They were trying to figure out what it actually meant to be American, and they used art to declare that brand new identity to the whole world.
Now, let's move forward to Section 3, the mid-1800s, where literature started sparking real reform.
Let's actually tackle one of your homework questions directly. Consider this. How did one single book, Uncle Tom's Cabin, dramatically influence views on slavery? It's kind of wild to think about today. I mean, before the internet, before television or social media, one single story held the power to completely shape public opinion during a massive, tearing national struggle.
The brilliant mind behind that story was Harriet Beecher Stowe. By studying her work, we get a front-row seat to exactly how authors responded to major political events. She used her creative voice to drag the brutal, harsh realities of slavery out into the light. She used literature to fight back against a massive moral wrong, and she effectively swayed public opinion across the nation. Her work is the absolute proof that literature isn't just entertainment, it can be a truly powerful catalyst for justice.
Which brings us to Section 4, the early 1900s, and the sounds of diversity.
Now, what's really interesting here is how specific music and art styles, things like jazz, the blues, and regional art that reflected distinct local landscapes, perfectly captured the growing diversity of everyday American life. The late 1800s and early 1900s brought completely new sounds and sights to the forefront. And guys, these weren't just catchy tunes or pretty pictures. They were quite literally the rhythmic heartbeat of a changing nation. They expressed the struggles, the joys, and the incredibly diverse backgrounds of everyday ordinary people.
Let's gather everything we've seen in our time machine for Section 5, key insights and takeaways, so we can start connecting the dots.
When we take a step back and look at the big picture, we see three undeniable truths that you'll definitely want to remember for your homework. First, creative works respond directly to social and political events, just like Harriet Beecher Stowe responding to the crisis of slavery. Second, art and music actively shape national identity, kind of like those early patriotic songs we talked about. And third, studying these works gives us a brilliant, crystal-clear window into the everyday life of the past, just like the jazz and blues of the early 1900s. Finally, let's move into our last section, education morality, and peace. The HeroesMart philosophy. Here at HeroesMart Academy, we purposely intertwine biblical morality with education for a really specific reason. Let's trace the steps. Step 1. Being smart and educated is incredibly important, obviously. But if that leads to Step 2, lacking biblical morality, it almost inevitably results in Step 3, which is continuing to make bad choices that actually hurt other people. History shows us this over and over again. I mean, what is the point of being highly educated if you just use that knowledge to make immoral choices that cause pain? Education without a moral compass is always going to end up hurting someone.
But thankfully, there is a better way. Romans 8, verses 6 and 7 promises peace of mind to everyone who keeps their mind spiritual. Instead of the deep hurt caused by immoral choices, maintaining a spiritual mind brings true, lasting peace. And honestly, that is exactly the experience we want for you as you engage with our content. We want you to be brilliantly educated, yes, absolutely, but we also want you anchored in the kind of spiritual peace that naturally guides you to do good in the world.
Which leaves us with this final, incredibly important thought. You've seen how people in the past use their voices, their art, and their writing to actively shape history. Well, now it's your turn. Will you choose to combine your education with biblical morality to create a better, more peaceful history for tomorrow? Think really deeply about how you can use your knowledge to be a force for good. Thank you so much for joining me today. Keep learning, keep growing, and I'll see you in the next explainer.